Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment, a podcast series taking a deeper look into entertainment and media. Your hosts, Joseph and Michelle Whalen, a husband and wife team of pop culture fanatics, are exploring all things from music and movies to television and fandom.
Welcome to, that was kind of a sudden intro there, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Kind of cut that off a little abruptly, a little out of practice. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment. This is episode 149. Franklin, my dear, I don't give a Zolocon. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and my rested and relaxed co-host, Michelle Whalen.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today, dear?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am frustrated because my camera 3 is not working and I had to quickly replace it.
I understand.
But, other than the technical difficulties, I think I'm doing just fine.
Well, that's good.
So, been kind of on a hiatus for a while here with our entertainment.
Unintentional.
We just haven't had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we keep kind of trying to, I guess, revamp how we want the show to be, what we want the show to be, and we just haven't really found that right mix of what we actually want to do. We don't want to just regurgitate, the news stories.
We want to add value. We want
Right.
to add value to the things that we talk about.
Right. We want to make it so that, also you can go back to a past podcast and re-listen to it again and find some entertainment value
Sure.
from it. So,
And I think the weekly cadence got to be too much of a grind.
Mhm.
It got to the point where we were struggling to find things to include in the show.
So it was definitely we want it to be quality, not necessarily quantity. So if it's something where it's once a month, it's once a month. If it's twice a month, it's twice a month. If it's,
I think at minimum once a month, I think we can come up with enough things to talk about.
Probably.
Especially now that convention season's going on.
Yeah.
So today we're not really going to be talking about much in the way of news. We're going to be talking about a couple of things that we had attended.
Mm-hmm.
We will be talking in our first segment about the Disney 100 exhibition at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Then the next day, actually, we went to Zolocon.
Mm-hmm.
Zolocon.
It's your most favorite convention toy show to go to.
So we have a little
just
bit
so
of,
you can say that.
We have a little bit of footage from both of those. We'll
Mm-hmm.
take a look at those. And then I kind of threw something together real quick for our third segment here. I thought it would be worthwhile since our last podcast, we talked about swapping the Bobs again and Bob Iger coming back. Thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of see where things are and what challenges Iger might be facing right now, and just get your opinion on that and how things are going with Disney, since he's come back into the fold.
Sure.
But before we do that, though, I would like to invite our listening and viewing audience to subscribe to the podcast. You can get audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Entertainment, and you can get audio and video versions of all the network's podcasts listed as Insights into Things. You can find us pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast these days, Google, Apple, Spotify, and so forth. I would also invite you to write in, give us your feedback, tell us how we're doing, give us your suggestions on what you'd like us to talk about. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/insights_things. Or you can get links to all that and more on our official website at www.insightsintothings.com. Shall we get into it?
Sure.
Here we go. So Disney 100,
Mm-hmm.
Franklin Institute, Philadelphia. We were there
Last weekend.
last weekend, which was that opening weekend?
No, it was their second weekend.
Second
They
weekend.
opened the week before.
Right. So we were there early in the morning. We got there. We did the museum.
Mm-hmm.
We had a
30.
12:30 time for the exhibit. And they have it in the same exhibit hall they have all the other ones. We've done the Star Wars one. We've done the Marvel one. What are your thoughts? Walk us through it.
So I have to say, if you are a fan of Disney, any aspect of Disney, being in this area, we're very fortunate because this is the only location within the United States that this is going to be. So there are people that are traveling from all over the country to come and see it because this is the only place. So that's kind of special to think that that we're kind of hosting it, even though we're not physically
Well, and
hosting it.
let's be fair. Since they always do the D23 in California,
Well,
the least they could do is give the East Coast something
right,
like this.
exactly. And that's when you think about all of the D23 events and everything else, it's usually always Florida or it's California. So to actually have it, in Philadelphia, so really for anybody that's within, a couple of hours, and you're a Disney fan, this is a look into, behind the scenes stuff that you don't normally get to see. Disney has been doing a lot of different behind the scenes shows on Disney Plus, like Behind the Vault or all these different shows. There's a couple of different
you mean
ones.
that show that you started watching again without me? That Disney show?
No, the other one that we
the
already
other
watched.
one. The other one that you're watching without me.
No, we already watched it.
Well, I thought you stopped at one point in time and then
That's the that's the attraction one.
Oh, okay.
That's the other
I know
one.
there was one of them. There was one that you left me out of. I know that.
Right. Well, anyway, there's various different shows that are on that Disney Plus is running, that they've been running, where they give you some of these behind the scene things from the archives, look at stuff that, unless you work for, the Disney Corporation, you've never seen. So this is such an opportunity to be able to see so many different things from so many different decades, going back 100 years really with the company when you think about it, and different aspects of it. So you have the animated part of it, you have the music part of it, you have the attractions, so they break down the whole exhibit into, I think they had it in 10, what did they call it, what did they call it? Why can't I think of the word?
I don't know. What did they call it?
Costuming. One was the individual characters. One, like I said, was the music. Technology, even showing some of the audio animatronic body parts, how they would manipulate a character to make it move. So there's a lot to it and so much to really see. And unfortunately, there were so many people there that it's kind of hard to read everything and to look at everything. So fortunately, because we live so close by, it's definitely something that I want to get to again to
So,
be able to.
so how long is it actually
It is
here in town?
actually in Philadelphia until August 27th.
Okay.
So you have quite a while, all of the summer, uh, and all of the spring
Now,
to
this
get
isn't the
there.
only location that they're going to be doing it at. They're going to be
Right.
doing it at two other locations around the world.
Two
right?
other locations. So in April, it will actually open up in Munich. So it will be going simultaneously with
So they're probably showing different.
probably different things. And the one in Munich actually goes until September 3rd. So it goes a little bit beyond the Philadelphia one. And then the dates for London are actually fall of 2023. They actually don't even have their dates open yet. So I'm guessing maybe part of Munich's show and part of Philly's show might end up at the London show, I'm guessing.
So let's talk a little bit about what was on display. You mentioned there's multiple galleries. What were some of the galleries? How were they themed? What were some of the things that were there that kind of stuck out at you? The stuff that jumped out.
Sure. So they start off they go sort of in a linear fashion, starting with the very beginning of everything and how the Disney company started. And you have the Alice shorts, and then Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and then obviously Mickey Mouse. So that's the progression. So they have some original drawings of all three of those with some videos playing with the original songs for Snow White, and because that was really their first musical, and so they had some of the original sheet music from that, and along with drawings and things like that. So you have that whole aspect, and then they go through the whole character development. How do they develop a character, and uh, basically take you through the different iterations of the character. So you have, here's their first sketch of a character, and then where does it go from there, and then to the maquettes, where here's our final model of a character. So now you can actually see it in a 3D form to be able to manipulate it and do other things with it.
So the exhibits themselves, there's a lot of static exhibits that are there. There's a lot of descriptive plaques to read to give descriptions and stuff like that. But not all of it is static. There's some interactive exhibits that they have there. Can you talk a little bit about the interactive exhibits that were there?
Well, the one interactive exhibit wasn't working, which I don't know if it hasn't been set up yet, if it was too early, or if it already broke down, which is kind of a shame if it's only been within the first week. They have a lot of different ones where you can listen to different presentations, and then they have other ones again where they had one where it was different colors, and you could pick different color schemes, and when you picked certain colors it would show you which character was associated with that. I really didn't do much of the interactives. I don't know if you guys, because we weren't really walking around.
Yeah, no, we kind of
together.
blew through a good portion of that because most of the interactive. So the way the exhibit itself is arranged is you have small rooms that are then connected by hallways, and a lot of the interactive listening things and stuff like that are on the walls in those
Right.
in those walkways. So the problem that I ran into is it was very crowded.
Right.
So those walkways became bottlenecks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I kind of was rushing to get through those into a more open room. So we skipped a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Most of the things that we went in and took a look at were just the static.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the eye poppers. You know.
Right. Right.
But what I did notice is there's a lot of subtlety in there. There's a like when you walk into the first open room, the room itself is roughly round with large displays in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the middle of these large projection displays are original novels like Grimm's fairy tales and stuff like that, which were they weren't just like library books. These were like the original novels that inspired the stories that Disney did. Mm-hmm. Which, if you didn't get up there and see those, you would have never realized.
Right,
it.
and that was one that I had missed.
Right.
Whereas one of the things that I ended up seeing was a Winnie the Pooh that was from the live action movie, and then they had from the live action Beauty and the Beast movie, they had models of two of the characters from that, and that was kind of like back around a corner. So there were certain things where you had to kind of wait in line to see because, you know, so many people were going to see, but if you went past it, you would have missed it because you know, they were kind of back in the corner in a certain area.
So they did have a section there for one of the galleries was kind of dedicated to the parks and things that came out of the parks. Talk about that a little bit and what were some of the things that they had from that?
Yeah, so one of the things was they had one of the original ride vehicles from Peter Pan. So that was really cool to see. And really, that hasn't changed much over the years. If you know, have gone to the park, you know, recently, it pretty much looks the same. Then one of the bobsleds from the Matterhorn was there as well. One of the other things that was really cool, I don't think you had it in your video, but I know I took a picture of it, was they had the original name tags from when the Disneyland first opened, and I guess when they had first done them, they had numbers on them, and they had the number 1, which was Walt Disney's original name tag, you know, from the park. So that was really kind of interesting. And then they had some other models. So they had one of the dolls from It's a Small World. They had one of the characters from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, one of the little devils there. One of the other things that was kind of cool was it was a model from... all you Disney fans are gonna yell at me because I'm.
Is it in the movie?
I don't think it was in the movie.
Okay.
But it was the Inner Space ride.
Oh yeah.
And but the little model, it's the Doom Buggy. It's, you know, but it was blue because on that ride it was the Omna. I can't think of the ride vehicle, but it looks like it's a little Doom Buggy, except it's blue and there are people in it.
Manny did catch that.
Yeah, I was like, oh look, there's my Doom. Oh, it's not the Doom Buggy. You know, but I knew what it was because I knew they used that same ride vehicle in other rides back in the day.
So of everything that they had there, what was the biggest highlight for you of the entire thing?
Oh, I don't know.
What jumped out at you the most?
I don't know. I don't know if there was any. Like,
what was the most impressive thing?
What was the most impressive? Well, I guess the castle, but that wasn't. Yeah, that was just a model of the castle. I think, you know, Walt's name badge.
Sure.
You know, his name tag was probably.
From a sentimental
you know,
standpoint.
From a sentimental,
totally see that.
You know.
The thing that jumped out at me the most was the model of the Nautilus. Like, it was the hero model that was 12 feet long and it was monstrous.
Right.
That was just impressive to come around the corner and see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, everything was like, wow, cool. Like, if they would have had something from the Haunted Mansion, that probably would have been, like...
But they didn't, and that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing is I don't know if
and it's a shame because it was such a pet project of Walt's.
Right.
To do. He was so involved in doing that. And
like I would have liked to have seen more stuff with the audio animatronics.
Yeah.
And a little bit more of the history and the technology for that. But again, they had the different movies going on. In one of the movies, one of the clips they had was a behind the scenes of the Haunted Mansion. So they did have that.
Let's run the video.
Sure.
You can kind of give us some commentary over the video and point out the things that catch your eye.
Sure. So this was a cute little pre-show, I guess, when you first, walked in.
And it was neatly done because when you're there, it's a hologram. It's a multi-screen 3-dimensional hologram.
Yeah. So, of course, being able to see, Walt Disney like that was really kind of cool. Kind of creepy, but kind of cool all at the same time.
We believe in it all the way.
There we go.
We have confidence in our ability to do it right, and we work hard to do the best possible job. There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.
Everybody ready? Then on with the show!
Then move along.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the first section that you kind of walk through, and it shows, Oswald. Then this was an area where they had concepts of the different parks, different lands, and of course the Haunted Mansion right there. This was that book section that you were talking about. So this was talking about where they got the inspiration for their different movies and shorts and things like that. And this was, again, the innovation area and the multiplane, a miniature version of the multiplane camera. Talking about, again, that the first animated musical.
And that was neat that they had the original scores there for
Yeah. And the original, record album.
Yeah, like this is where you kind of you feel the history here when the pieces are there.
Yeah. And then they had various different costumes from some of their live action. So this was from the Cruella movie.
So that's one of the interactive ones where you can listen to the...
Right, so they kind of had like a little history of Cruella.
What's this?
I don't know, some
science fiction.
Some science fiction-y thing, and some dice from a guy that wants to be a pilot, and oh look, it's chicken. No, it's pork.
Look, that's dinner.
And of course, BB-8, and these were screen-used props that were here.
Right.
So some, they had a nice little Star Wars section, so it was kind of cool, obviously.
It was little though.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising that it was as small as it was. There's those books again.
There's those books again.
Yeah, and there were different interactive things with that.
Each of them had screens on there.
And then this was the music section, talking about how influential music, and how much of part of it music is.
There's that creepy doll.
There's that creepy doll. It's a small world.
And this is neat because it actually lights up, like there's a shot of the actual ride there.
Yeah.
And they lit up. Ironically enough, the devil not nearly as creepy as the other one was.
Yeah, definitely not as creepy as that. And he's from, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Toad.
And then this was interesting, so...
in a creepy way.
In a creepy way. I have a story about the doll that we can talk about after the video. And then they had, a little bit of a Marvel section, so that was kind of nice to.
When
to
the
be
movie
included.
franchise makes as much as it does, you have to.
You have
feature it in
to,
the
yeah,
exhibit.
you have to put something in from that. And then, of course, when you get to the end, there's a gift shop.
There is a gift shop.
So, they're very Disney of them.
Surprisingly poorly stocked gift shop, though.
Yeah, not as many exclusive things as I would have
This
expected.
was neat, actually seeing things from the musicals too.
Yes, they did a whole, so along with the musical, they also had the Broadway aspect of it.
And
then
there's
here's
the
that
hero
Nautilus.
of the Nautilus.
The Nautilus.
Like, it's literally 12 feet,
Mhm.
15 feet
Yeah,
in
yeah.
length. It's monstrous. And here's a creepy Olaf to go along with the other creepy characters we saw.
Because again, this was part of the Broadway show and how they developed it and made the character. And then this was, this really cool Cinderella's castle. It was kind of towards the end of it with, the fireworks.
Not so loud fireworks.
Not so loud fireworks.
And you never get to watch fireworks when we're at the parks.
I very
Almost never.
rarely do.
So this was
I never get to see them from the right angle. I'm usually seeing them from the back side of something because our daughter is not a fan of loud sounds. But now with, AirPods, she could.
Right.
And maybe I'll actually get to see fireworks the next time we go. So what was interesting about that Mickey doll was, again, one of the specials that's on Disney Plus where they kind of do a behind the scenes thing. And this is from one that was from a couple of years ago, so it's not new, but if you go on Disney Plus, you'll find it. They talk about that Mickey doll because when his shorts, became available, there was this woman who knitted, who sewed this doll and had sent it to Walt, and he loved it so much that he kind of hired her to make them, but she couldn't make them fast enough, so she actually sold the pattern to McCall's. So that's what that doll represented there, where you could go and buy the pattern to make your own Mickey Mouse doll. So that was kind of, an interesting, side note of seeing that
Okay.
and then seeing it on the television show too.
So to wrap it all up, what are your final thoughts on the Disney 100 exhibition at the Franklin Institute?
If you're a fan, you have to go. You can't miss this opportunity, especially if you're somewhere within, the East Coast, or if you're out in the West Coast and you want to fly out to Pennsylvania to Philadelphia and make a weekend trip of it. There's obviously enough stuff to do in the area. We're pretty historic in the Philadelphia area. We've had a couple of things happen here.
Yeah.
So you could definitely make a week, a long weekend trip. What's nice is that if it's something where you don't want to do the rest of the museum, because if you if you go during the day with the exhibit, you get the rest of the Franklin Institute included in it. But if it's something where you don't want to do that, they do evening hours Thursday through Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. So it's a little bit less because you're just doing the exhibit. But if you want to have, a full day, then obviously you can do the museum as well as the exhibit. And again, up until August 27th in Philadelphia. Then, unless you're in Munich, then that one starts in April. And then this fall, it'll be in London.
All right. And, like you said, we're going to probably go back again in the evening just for the exhibit.
Right.
Hopefully it won't be as crowded, but fortunately we have plenty of time to do it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Zolocon. We'll be right back. For over 7 years, the Second Sith Empire has been the premier community guild in the online game Star Wars: The Old Republic. With hundreds of friendly and helpful active members, a weekly schedule of nightly events, annual guild meet and greets, and an active community both on the web and on Discord. The Second Sith Empire is more than your typical gaming group. We're family. Join us on the Starforge server for nightly events such as operations, flashpoints, world boss hunts, Star Wars trivia, guild lottery, and much more. Visit us on the web today at www.thesecondsithempire.com. Welcome back to Insights into Entertainment. Now we get to talk about Zolocon. Sorry, I can't help myself.
I know.
So, Zolocon is a sci-fi and fantasy expo that focuses on vintage toys and comics from the 1970s and up. Tell us about it. Tell us about your experience. How did you enjoy it this year?
So this past weekend, it's funny because as far as we knew, they only did it once a year. And then I guess last year or the year before, they started doing it twice a year. Now, this year, they'll actually be doing 3 different events. So this happened to be what they consider their winter edition. And it was actually the largest one to date. And we could definitely tell vendors all over the place in various different places, even in some parts of the building we had never even been to before. And every area was jam-packed. I don't think there was really any empty spaces.
No,
this
like
year.
usually you'd go through there and you'd see like empty vendor tables or vendors that didn't show up
Right,
for Sunday
right.
or something. Everybody was packed.
Yeah, everybody was
You've
there.
got you have the main room where the centrifuge is, which is the highlight of the whole thing.
Right.
You have another room at that level and then a hallway that was packed.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the upstairs room
Right.
where you've got 2 rooms split by a bar, which, by the way, they had alcohol on the main floor this time
Right.
around. So
Right.
you can get drinks the whole time and get sloshed while you're buying lots of toys.
Right. Right.
And then down on the first floor, they had vendors there, which they'd never had before.
And they were also doing tattoos.
And they were doing tattoos.
There were a
down
couple of
there as
different
well.
tattoo artists, which that seems to be like the new thing at toy
At
shows
conventions,
and
yeah,
conventions is
yeah.
to have a various tattoo artist. Go buy a Luke Skywalker and get a tattoo
Right.
while you're here.
So not only did we find the exhibition area downstairs,
Mhm.
we also happened to find the restaurant they had there that we never knew they had.
Right. And I think that's relatively new as well. So that might have, been something that they started. Well, I did see the one sign that they were normally open just like Fridays, I guess, during the
Okay.
week. So maybe on the weekends,
Or
or
if they've
if
got
they
a
have an
event.
event and they know there are going to be people around. Because I can't see just going there for a meal. It's kind of out of the
Sure.
way.
Well, and that's it. The complex that they're in
Right.
is an office complex.
Right.
There's a school in there.
Right.
There's a manufacturing in there.
So I
there's
could see like on a Friday.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different stuff that's actually in there.
Right.
At what used to be the Brewster Aviation plant before World War II, and then it became the naval testing
Mhm.
station as well. So again, Philadelphia, a lot of history just in that one little area
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
How were the crowds?
It was crowded, but it wasn't, it wasn't unmanageable. It was because everybody kind of flowed through, and it's done in such a way in the main room because it's where the centrifuge is. It's a big circular room. They do 2 rows. So they have the inner circle and they have the outer circle.
So it's like a dartboard, basically.
Yeah. And they leave enough room in between so you definitely don't feel like you're, getting, claustrophobic. And usually what we end up doing, because there's so much on both sides, is we'll do each each aisle, each circle twice. We'll do, the outside. So we look at just that,
So do the left side, then you do the right side, then you come to the inner circle, do the left side,
and
do the right
so
side.
that this way we get to see, everything, so that we're not, oh, did you see that? No, I was looking over here, and I never felt like there wasn't enough room to do that. They do have stairs to get to the upstairs area, but there's also
Even the pendant guy that I had bought the one
yeah, I was
going
gonna
to
say the
I
pendant.
don't want to talk about him because he hasn't gotten his
Right, he
presents
hasn't
yet,
gotten his stuff yet.
but the pendant guy that's there who hand makes his own pendants.
Right.
And it was neat because he's there interacting with you. He's not just selling his stuff.
Right.
He's soliciting input for what you'd like to see him make
Right,
at
like
his next show.
what would you like me to make? So that's what's always so cool about these events is it's that unique item that you didn't know existed maybe, or you did and you're like, the one guy who we've seen, because again, we go to so many of these now that we run into a lot of the same vendors, but
Right.
it's like, okay, well, what do you have for this show? And the one guy, he sells Lego minifigures, and he makes the Lego figures. This time around, I didn't buy a Lego figure from him. He was selling purses and wallets, and he had a Haunted Mansion purse, and I was like, all right, take my money.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's, again, something you never know what you're going to find when you go. And like you said, part of the whole Zolocon experience is the venue itself.
Sure.
Just, knowing the history of that building and what happened there. And that was what was kind of cool, too, this time around, was because we were going to these other areas of the building, there were more pictures and plaques and different historical things about what had happened at that building in the past. So that's
the one
really kind
thing
of cool.
that I had noticed was while it was vendor heavy, it was kind of light on artists this time around. There wasn't many. Like last time, there was probably 3 or 4 times as many artists on that inner ring there. Didn't get as many artists this time, so I don't know if it's really it's not a comic book show,
Right.
even though there are guys that are selling comics.
Right.
So you don't get a lot of artists. They had the one author there who Maddie had bought her book last time.
Oh,
we were
okay.
there. But not really a lot in the way of artwork,
Right.
which I don't have enough room on my walls right now as it is, but
Right.
kind of noticed that was one of the big changes. They also changed the refreshment area up here this time because they put the alcohol down where the refreshments were, so you didn't have the seating area there. So
Right.
for someone like me who I can't stay on my feet that long, it was kind of difficult trying to find little nooks and so forth here. And in fact, when we left, I had to send you guys back up for
Right.
the last piece I wanted because I couldn't do all the walking.
Right. Right.
So happy with what you got? Did you get anything that was good?
Yeah, like I said, Maddie and I got a couple of pins. I ended up getting some Star Wars Pyrax, really for you, for lunches. So, interesting, unique things that wouldn't have thought to
Well, let me
find.
cue up the video.
Sure.
We can. This was video footage that we took while we were there, and I had Maddie walk around with the camera for a little bit. just to see what some of the things were that they had.
Yeah, so it's neat to see, because again, here's the big giant centrifuge and various space stuff just there while you're walking around.
But you can see how wide these aisles
Oh,
are. So
yeah.
there's plenty of room
Yeah.
with the aisles, which is nice. So you're not elbow to elbow with people
Right,
like you are at
right.
some of the shows.
Right. Some of the sections, with individual vendors, if they had like a little corner and you wanted to go into the corner to see, then it might have been tight. But other than that, for the most part, and there were a lot of people there when we were there, so it wasn't like it was
And this was Sunday that we were there.
right. We usually always tend to go on a Sunday.
If we're not going for panels or for celebrities, which we usually don't go for, we'll almost always go on a Sunday. We'll go on the last day of the show because the vendors tend to be a lot more interested in selling their stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
and you have, a bunch of the vendors with homemade,
a couple of vendors with D&D stuff, dice
right.
and dice towers,
Mhm.
which, it's kind of nice to see that coming into its own now.
Right.
I really need to coach her on how not to make sudden movements with the camera. A couple of these I had to slow down.
Go slow. Yeah, it's just such a nice, because like the one vendor selling coffee, he wasn't there at
Right.
this one. So, here was
There's
the
your
pin.
Yeah.
And
Ton of pins. Too.
ton of different types of pins, and more on her website, which is nice. Couple of people dressed up, not a whole lot.
Not a lot.
But there were some. They were doing a custom toy.
Well, they usually do a costume contest. Did they do that on Saturday? Is that why?
I don't know, maybe, but they were doing a custom toy contest.
Right, like a action figure.
Right.
Toy. Yeah.
Right. So again, lots of different pops.
I was talking to that particular vendor. He said he's got 3,000 pops back at his shop
I bet.
right now.
I bet. And then you have different video games. So if you play any, older systems, there's usually always a couple of different people selling that. Sometimes you get a t-shirt person
Yep.
selling things. The one t-shirt guy who does t-shirt artwork and pins, he happened to be there, so I picked up a t-shirt from him. Maddie picked up another pin of his because I follow him on Facebook, so I knew he had an Owl House, which is one of the shows that she and I watch on Disney Plus. So he had a pin that had come out a couple of months ago, so we knew he was going to be there, so we definitely made a beeline to go and get something from him.
Well,
so.
and the thing that's really nice is that when you have that many vendors there, you don't get a lot of duplicate vendors. You get
Yes.
a lot of variety, a lot of different things to choose from. And the vendors, like the interaction with the vendors, I think since COVID, really, I've noticed, has been very positive. They're very outgoing. They're very engaging now.
Because everybody misses being around
Yeah.
people and talking to people and
Yeah.
and doing
And
this.
well, I struck up a conversation with one of the vendors. I was there for 15 minutes just talking about, how the shows have been going and how business has been and, different types of customers. And they're not just vendors. They're people that love the same things that you love
Right,
too. So
right.
it's almost like a community at this point.
Oh,
which
absolutely,
is kind of nice.
absolutely. And that was, they, one of the Facebook groups. They have another Zolocon Facebook group, and it was one of the organizers of it, and he was just over the moon about how well it went, and that this was their largest attendance to date, and that they couldn't speak, they had so many nice things to say about the vendors that were there, about the guests that were there, about just everything all around, just giving out the love.
It's a great show. It's a great venue. It's not far for us. It's in Warminster.
Right.
So it's 45-minute drive.
About 45
maybe?
minutes for us. Yeah.
So it's not that far from us, and it's just it's a nice day out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of nice to go out there and buy stuff that you can't buy anywhere else.
Right, exactly. And that's what's always, and I think for us now, we've kind of, we've gotten to the point where we just have way too much stuff. You've seen our collection, and it's still, since we did that video, a year ago now, there's been more stuff.
And that was only a small sampling.
Yeah, that wasn't even all of it. Where we've kind of come to the conclusion we don't need to buy anything more. Yeah. So for us to go to a show, it's really to see,
it's the experience.
It's the experience of it, or to find that.
Well, like I'm going to find stuff for other people now. Like I managed to get 2 really cool things for Sam this time around that I couldn't get anywhere else. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Right,
now.
And Maddie ended up picking up a couple of things that she wouldn't have normally been able to find. And the things that I got, again, were that unique, individual, one-of-a-kind
thing. Yeah, the types
thing.
of things that I would be looking to add to my collection at this point are things that would require me to mortgage the house. So I'm trying not to add things to my collection at this point.
Right, and or if you find that small little thing that, that's not going to take up, a lot of room, or this adds to somebody else, or something to go with D&D, or something.
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking for now. I was kind of disappointed I didn't find any D&D minis there. Not that I need more minis either.
Right, you don't need more minis either. But that's that's the thing, is for us it's also the experience of just going and being with the community.
Absolutely.
And again, this is the type of show where there aren't panels, there aren't the celebrities to go see. It's not like Monster Mania or Wizards or, some of the other shows. It's really...
You mean Fan Expo? Because it's not Wizards anymore.
It's called blah, blah, blah.
It'll always be Wizards to me.
It'll always be Wizards to me, just like Downtown Disney. You can't take that away from me.
All right. So I think we've covered that one pretty well. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna get a feeler for how Bob's doing. The new old Bob. That's what I should have named this. The new old Bob show. We'll be right back.
Insights into Teens, a podcast series exploring the issues and challenges of today's youth. Talking to real teens about real teen problems. Explore issues from braces to puberty, social anxiety to financial responsibility. Each week, we talk about the topics concerning today's youth. We look at how the issues affect teens, how to cope with these issues, and how parents, friends, and loved ones can help teens handle these challenges. Check out our video episodes on youtube.com/insightsintothings. Catch our audio versions on podcast.insightsintoteens.com or on the web at insightsintothings.com.
So Bob is back at Disney. Not that Bob, the other Bob.
Right.
So we've
original Bob.
We've swapped Bob's back to the old Bob. And he's facing some challenges. He's only supposed to be there for 2 years. Kind of a short time to turn things around. Chapek did a brilliant job of running things into the ground in the short amount of time that he was there. One of the first things that Iger's doing now that he's back is apparently slashing 7,000 jobs, and there's $5.5 billion in cost cutting he has to make somewhere. Should I feel bad that Disney's hard up for cash at this point in time?
And that's the thing is, are they really? Because I haven't seen anything where...
Not according to their stock price, they're not.
Right. That's, where it's kind of, huh?
Right. And it's almost imagined, because you look at some of the things that they're running into, and you're running into sluggish box office sales. You know, like for instance, that new Quantum Mania movie came out and it tanked at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, box office sales are down in general since COVID.
Right.
That plus everyone knows that their stuff's going to come out on Disney Plus in a few months, so why
Right, so
spend the money to
why-
go to the box office?
Right. Right.
The streaming business has been hit hard because they've completely flooded the market and turned people off with crap. Really, I mean, they're literally just churning out stuff to put on there,
Right.
and it's not quality stuff. So the
Or
streaming's
the
taking
stuff
a hit.
that is good, they cancel after 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, there have been a number of shows that Maddie and I have started to watch, and it's like, oh, by the way, this is done now.
Right.
Like, oh, we couldn't even get like a second season or a third season. Like, okay,
Right.
thanks. So it almost makes you not want to watch something
Right.
until there's
It's almost like
3 or 4
Google.
seasons out.
Like, nobody wants to get... Google comes out with really cool stuff, but as soon as
Right.
you get into it, they cancel it and it goes away. So
Right.
nobody wants to do that. And Disney's putting themselves into the same
Mm-hmm.
position as well. They're canceling shows that I'm not even watching.
And-
Usually I'm the one that kills shows when
Right,
I watch them and start
right.
getting into them.
Exactly.
So I think that $5.5 billion they're talking about really is it's a fictitious number that they think they should be making that. I don't think Disney's losing money. Disney's got more money than God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when God needs to put a new world in place, he goes to Disney for a loan.
That what it does.
So it's not that Disney's losing money. They're just not making it as fast as they want to.
Okay.
And part of the problem you run into is, yeah, you know what? You keep coming out with superhero movies just for the sake of coming out with superhero movies. They finally reached a point of saturation with Marvel, and nobody wants to go see it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Well, they learned that lesson pretty fast with Star Wars.
Right.
You know, they flooded the market with Star Wars, trying to turn it into another Marvel, and that bit them in the butt really quick.
Right. Right.
So I can't feel bad for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question comes down to, in 2 years, can they come up with a succession plan for Iger? And really what I have to ask is, do you need a succession plan for Iger? Is he really going to be gone in 2 years?
Mm.
Because given how much his incentive is for success, I don't see him going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I could see him still staying on as a consultant
Right.
when he's still
Right.
doing
So-
things. But then again, you also have to look at everything that's kind of going on right now in the state of Florida.
That's
And
true
that's
as well.
a whole other kit and caboodle of that whole toxicness.
Well,
that,
and let's be honest. What's going on in Florida is a temporary thing.
hopefully.
It's temporary because it's a pissing match between DeSantis and Disney.
Right.
And it really was a pissing match between DeSantis and Chapek.
Right.
And Chapek's out of the picture, and
Right.
DeSantis is going to be out of the picture in 2024 when he runs for president anyway.
Hopefully.
So it doesn't really, that's not that big a deal. In fact, Disney came out with a statement recently basically saying, you know, we're going to focus on what we do best. We're going to provide the best experience for people, blah, blah. They took the high ground.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't buy into the taunting and the stick poking that DeSantis was trying to draw them into.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said, look, we operate under numerous jurisdictions and numerous regulations around the world, and we make it work, and we'll make it work here.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I think what's going to happen with this little pissing match between DeSantis and Disney is the taxpayers are going to lose out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they skirted around the idea of having to take on all that debt for Reedy Creek by just restructuring the zone itself, and now DeSantis has his hand-picked group of
Right. He
board
picked
members
all of
in
his
there.
board members and everything.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Disney's been supplementing Reedy Creek since it was created.
Mm-hmm.
Disney's not going to do that anymore.
Right.
So Reedy Creek, or whatever the central Florida Tourism District or whatever they call it now because they had to rename it, they're not going to have the same budget they had before, but they still have the same requirements. And it's ultimately the people of Florida that are going to have to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people look at their tax bill after this whole fiasco, this little vindictive fiasco that DeSantis put together, they're going to realize, well, maybe we shouldn't have reelected him for this. Maybe he's having a hard time keeping politics out of business and keeping it from being personal. And, you know, that's really what it was. It was his own little
Absolutely.
crusade.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, when the Florida taxpayers get their bill, that's when you're going to start seeing things change. And I think what's going to happen is by the time he goes to run for president, those tax bills are going to be in. And it's going to seriously impact his ability to raise money for his campaign. That's just what I think. I'm not a fortune teller myself. So that state down there of flux is really not going to be that big of an impact. Disney's the number one job maker in the state.
Absolutely.
Do you really want to piss him off and have him leave the state?
And that's the thing, because there are a lot of people who, don't forget, there were a lot of people from California where they, the Disney company was transferring a lot of jobs from California down to Florida, and now there are a lot of people that are like, I don't know if I want to go down here in this hostile environment right now, the way that things are. So now there's, some various talk going back and forth of, well, maybe we should wait 2 years before, making this change, that maybe California is the better idea. And of course there's, all the different people saying that, gee, I wonder what Florida would be like if Disney decided, you know what, we're gonna just up and move Walt Disney World to a different part of the country,
right? And
see how quick.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna. It's Disney is such a huge part of the economy down there that all they have to do is move one division that they have down there, and you're talking thousands of jobs that move out of the state.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the response. It's a direct response to DeSantis. He can't afford that bad press.
No.
And the only reason he's doing the things he's doing now, and the other stunts that he's doing, it's not just Disney centric. The whole stunt with the flying migrants up to Democrat cities, and his whole stance. I love the fact that he's got this major stance against border security. Somebody really needs to tell the man he doesn't have a border with another country with his state. He doesn't. So you don't have border security.
Right.
So he's doing all this just for the publicity he needs to gain national attention so that he can make a run for 2024. After 2024, assuming he doesn't win, after 2024, he's going to be relegated to the crap pile of history at that point in time.
He's going to be wishing he had a job at Disney.
Yeah, because he's burning every bridge there. Because what's Disney going to do? They thought they bought him as a politician because they backed his original election. What's going to happen when your politician that you bought doesn't vote in your favor? You're going to go buy another politician.
Right, exactly.
And the last thing you want is to have literally one of the largest corporations in the world, again, a company with more money than God, backing a politician other than you in the presidential race.
Yep.
That's never going to end well for DeSantis.
No.
And that's exactly what's going to wind up happening.
Here's to hoping.
Plus all those voters that they have down there, all those taxpayers that they have down there that are getting screwed by DeSantis. Does he think they're going to vote for him for president? If he gets into a pissing match with Disney when he's just a governor of a state, what's he going to do as president? He's not going to be looking out for these people.
No.
So he's burning his own bridges. So by 2024, between him and Trump tearing the Republican Party to the ground and literally just burning it to the ground, he's not going to have anything after 2024. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff.
Okay.
But, Iger's staying out of that now. It was
Right.
funny how he was commenting on it when Chapek was steering the ship in the wrong direction.
Right. To try and get him.
Right. Chapek already had the company in the ditch, and he was over there kind of poking a stick in his cage about it.
Right.
Now that he's back in charge, he's not saying anything about it. He's tight-lipped about the whole thing.
Which is the way it needs to be.
Exactly. So, the one thing I did see is that they're doing away with the parking charge.
Right. We did see that was, one of the things that did go away.
And that helps me to justify going down.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really been one of the only things I've seen kind of come back. I know they were talking about the reservation system, that they were still leaving that in place, but they were opening it up for more people. The park hopping, changing the time on that to make it more accessible. I think they were starting to do some of the annual passes.
Right. They were doing the extra magic hours in the morning. They were expanding out to other resorts.
Right.
So the problem is Chapek dug a huge hole that he's got to claw his way out of before he wins people like me back.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big fan of Iger's to begin with.
Right.
So he's got his work cut out for him.
Right.
I would want to be in his position, and I don't think he's going to be able to fix all of this stuff in 2 years.
No, I think a lot of it's going to take time, because it's one of those things. They were so quick to make the changes in the first place, and then of course you had the pandemic that
the
escalated
pandemic kind of breathed down everyone's neck about it.
Right. So like now you have, they're starting to do dining options again. Like not the traditional dining plan that they had before, but something.
And they've got to get rid of the Genie Plus. Oh my God.
They're not though. That's the problem. Genie Plus isn't going anywhere. They're modifying it again.
They'll never win me back.
Right.
With Genie Plus. I'm sorry. It was a waste of money. It was a terrible experience. I walked out of Disney for the first time in, 18 years that we've been going? 15 years that we've been going? Walked out of the first time and felt like I didn't get my money's worth out of it. And when you're paying Disney money, you damn well better feel like you're getting your money's worth out of it.
No, I agree. I was very disappointed with it as well. But you never even you never felt like you had that with the fast passes. Like you didn't have to really learn how to navigate it. It was, there were probably people when Fast Pass first started that had a hard time with it and didn't quite understand how to make it work, and that was.
Once you got to hang a Fast Pass, you could make the system work for you.
Right.
There's no way the Genie Plus works for anybody.
I don't know. And that's the thing is, I think we probably needed to do a little bit more research. But
it's a broken system, though.
But that's my whole point, is that I shouldn't have to take a college course in how to use Genie Plus before I go on a vacation. And the thing is, they build it as being. Anybody can use it. It's super convenient. You do everything through the app. Everything's wonderful. Right.
Well, one, I'm paying for it. Two, it has built-in restrictions that doesn't even come close to comparing with FastPass the way it was.
Right.
Three, the app was terrible.
Right.
It was confusing. It didn't always work. Oh, and you got to kill your phone battery just so you can get around the park.
Right, exactly.
Terrible idea.
Right. The idea is I'm on a vacation. I shouldn't have to be constantly on my phone. Like when they had FastPass Plus, when they had the FastPass system, as long as you knew what time your FastPass was for,
it was simple. It was easy.
You didn't need to be on your phone.
I could do all that on my phone, or I could go to a kiosk, or I could go to a park cast member in the park. I got options.
Right.
And that was free.
Right.
I'm paying for a system that they've deliberately handicapped now.
Right.
So as long as that's in place, they're not going to get me back. It's just that simple.
No, I agree.
So, sorry, Bob, but it's an uphill battle. I wouldn't want his job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want a salary for his job, to be honest with you.
It's gonna take a while. It's not something that's gonna.
But that's the thing. He doesn't have a while.
He doesn't have a while. Yes, I know. Well,
so
and
unless
maybe
he's making revolutionary changes, they're breathing down his neck about $5.5 billion that they didn't lose, that they want back because they're not making money
Right.
fast enough. That's what they're concerned about.
and that's the thing is, where is it that you're cutting these jobs? Is it from certain divisions? Is it a
because
little bit?
they didn't ramp back up from the cuts from COVID.
Right,
either.
and that was going to be my next thing. Is I know that there are still cast members from the parks that never got called back because they just never opened up that section of the park, or where they had worked before. So
Yeah.
that's okay. How many are these new cuts? Now what are you going to cut? What are you closing? Or is it that's the whole thing.
What service am I losing now when I
Right.
go down?
But I'm
Because
paying
you're
for.
not going to cut the price.
Right.
You're going to raise the price
Mhm,
and cut
because
the
you need to
service
make
again.
because
Right.
you need to make the money now.
So I'll wait for the dust to settle and,
Yeah.
and figure out who his successor is and how bad they are
Yeah, I guess
before
we'll
I
have
go
to
back
see.
down. Anyway. Okay, we haven't had a chance to bash Disney in a while. It's good to.
See, do you feel better now?
I do. I feel like there's a weight lifted off of me now. This was such a great de-stressor for me.
I'm so
So that's all we had today. Before we do go, I want to once again invite our listening and viewing audience to subscribe to the podcast. Audio versions of this podcast can be found listed as Insights into Entertainment. You can get audio and video of all of our podcasts listed as Insights into Things. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, etc. I would also invite you to write to us. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com.
You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/insights_things.
We do stream 5 days a week on Twitch at twitch.tv/insightsintothings.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/insightsintothingspodcast.
You can find us streaming 6 days a week on YouTube, as well as all of our videos on YouTube at youtube.com/insightsintothings.
You can find us on Instagram at instagram.com/insightsintothings.
Or you can find all that and more on our official website at insightsintothings.com. That's it. Another one in the books.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.